Hello and welcome to the Absolute Game of Nerds with your non-geek, non-nerd hosts, JP and Rohan. And with us today, our guest is RMS Collects. We have Ryan with us. And Rohan, if you can give him a proper introduction.
Yeah, just another great collector on the show today. I kind of knew of Ryan at first, hearing Manu talk about him all the time. I know he's got the love of the symbiote, Spider-Man, all that good stuff. So I've heard Manu talk about him. So then I since been talking to him. Just a great collector. I've even gotten a few cool items from him myself, and he always hooks it up with some nice freebies. I always like to see come in. But yeah, Ryan. Oh, and I should say, and JP was quite thrilled when he saw him pop on with a Steelers hat today. But Ryan, say hello. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
This is a first for me. So yeah, I definitely honored to be on you guys' show.
Right on. Well, thanks for coming on. And as always, like we were talking about just a minute ago, we always start with like, what is your origin story when it comes to collecting? So tell us when it all started. Was it as a child? How did it all? I mean, I assume with the love of symbiotes, similar to like us and Manu and all the rest of us, 90s kid. Kind of take us from there.
Yeah, definitely a 90s kid. I would say it probably started. My dad enrolled me in karate. Me and my brother. I have a little brother that I used to collect with, and he enrolled us in karate. And of course, I was a huge fan of Ninja Turtles and stuff. And so like we had this karate place that we used to go to. Across the street from it was this place called Coach's Corner. It was in Folsom, where I live, and in there was a comic shop and a card shop.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I remember going in there and seeing a pack of cards and stuff, and then go through comics. It was my first real experience into comics. But the cards were I think the cards were probably my first thing. And the first pack of cards I believe I bought was the 92 Comic Images Wolverine. I think it was the second series. And I bought those, and I bought the Ghost Riders. My dad would buy those after I earned a stripe on like my belt. So like whenever I got like a stripe, I earned a stripe at my karate place. My dad would buy me with something like that. And then my dad actually had comics too. So he had Conan comics, and he showed me those. And I'm like, I started getting into, watching X-Men and stuff like that. And the first superhero I really was like connected to was Wolverine. I mean, it just the attitude, his just savagery, like he was just an absolute beast. And I kind of like had a connection with that and stuff. So I kind of leaned towards that one, and then Spider-Man as well through the animated shows. But me and my brother kind of both collected stuff. So, going to that shop was like the most amazing thing ever. Like I started connecting certain characters to myself. My brother was doing the same. But what was really weird is my brother actually was more connected to Venom back in the day, and I was Wolverine. And as I got older, I'm actually more connected to Venom now than I am. I still love Wolverine, but the card sets, man, they resonated with me. 94 X-Men Ultra, collected those. It actually was a 92. I think it was a 92 Series 3 cards.
Yep. Marvel Universe Series 3. Yep.
Yeah, and I remember going like in elementary school, the other kids would actually have their binders out and stuff. They'd bring their cards out, and we'd be out on the playground, and we're just trading. We're just trading cards and stuff. We didn't care about condition. We're just throwing them in our binder and just like,
condition was like an unknown concept to us back then. It was just like this for that. Yeah,
really irrelevant to us. We're just like, I want that card, and we're just throwing in our back pocket. We didn't really care, but yeah, I mean, it was so great. So yeah, that was probably my early 90s type collecting. And I also collected basketball cards. I was a huge basketball fan. Michael Jordan. I probably had like 800 Michael Jordan cards back in the day.
Still have them?
I probably have maybe about like 300, but yeah, during the pandemic, I definitely graded pretty much all mine and sold a lot of them for a lot of money. So I did pretty good. So but I kept my favorite card though. I have my favorite Michael Jordan card. It's from 92.
Okay.
and it's the slam dunk one. He's doing like a backwards thing, and he's dunking like this.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
And
about.
it's the 87-88 slam dunk championship one, and it has like a basketball like in glass smashed on it, and I carry that card everywhere, and it actually got a PSA 10, so I have no idea how that happened. So so I have that card. I sold off almost all of them besides the ones that really held meaning to me. So yeah, and then I think in the late 90s, I got into anime stuff, watched Dragon Ball, Pokemon and stuff, because I think I was in middle school towards the end of the 90s. And then probably I'd say after 2001, I stopped collecting in general. I still collected some basketball cards, but I really didn't get into collecting until probably about 2016. And I had obviously my daughter at the time; she was 6, and she got into Pokemon cards. So I actually started buying cards at Toys R Us and stuff, and we started collecting cards through that. And I had a nice little connection with my daughter, and that lasted for, I would say, till 2021. I was still doing. We did Pokemon cards for a bunch of years. I got into that, and then I think it was like during the pandemic. Um, I started grading a lot of cards, like with absolutely not nuts and grading. So
I mean, I've heard you say that you've graded thousands of cards, which is hard for me to fathom.
Yeah, I think 2020 I started grading my Jordans, and then it was Pokemon, and I started having really success. And I'll just give you an example. I had this Charizard card that I bought. I think it was for $100, and the market was so crazy. Towards the end of 2020, I sold that card for like $2,500.
Oh yeah,
it was insane.
What would that card sell for today? I don't know anything about Pokemon.
Yeah, I would pay probably like $700.
I mean, that's still
got some value, but it wasn't. I knew as soon as that market went up, I was like, I'm dropping these. I'm selling them. I can get them later on, but yeah, I got out of it. The Pokemon scene was just everyone was into it, and it just stopped not being fun for me. And then I think in 2020, I actually bought my first box of Marvel cards, and it was the 93 Marvel Masterpiece set. And as soon as I bought that, I just went down the rabbit hole. So 2020, I went right back into Marvel stuff, and then I bought my first graded slab comic. I think it was like early 2021, and it was ASM 252.
Oh yeah, first black suit.
Yeah, and then that started my whole black suit run. So I think 2021 I got back really into comics, but 2020 was I got back into Marvel cards.
What was the push to get that 252? Was it because you fell in love with Spider-Man, or you just going on a whim and buying it, or like what was the connection to the black suit Spider-Man?
I just like I remember the Spider-Man animated series, and I remember the Black Costume Saga. I think it was like 3 episodes of that, and it hit me, like the nostalgia hit. And as soon as I saw that black suit, I was like, I gotta have that. Like I already had cards. I already had similar cards with Black Suit Spider-Man. And I did watch a couple of like YouTube videos and stuff, and people said like, this is like the first appearance of the black suit. I was like, I gotta have it. It's just the cover itself is just awesome. So
yeah, Chris, since you said you bought it slab, what was the grade of the one you bought?
It was a 9.0. It was a newsstand 9. It was a 9.0, and I think I got it for like $150.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I didn't spend a whole lot of money. It was just my first one, and I didn't even I had no idea about graded like comics. I knew about graded cards. I was already getting down into that, and the comic piece though I didn't get into it until I bought that, and then I started going down that road.
Got it. And are you again? So you talk about you have a lot of commonality with like Manu and those guys. Are you big into the newsstand stuff? And then do you like the super high grade? Like, talk to me about that.
So I would say last year I was buying more slabs than raw books, and I didn't really care about the newsstands until obviously I think it was when I hopped on, Justin Spidey Hit's show. I think I watched a couple of his episodes with Manu was on there, and they talked about newsstands, and I went down that path. I bought a newsstand. I didn't just care. Yeah, it was just coincidence. And and then I just started to learn about the history of them and stuff. And if they are, a little bit more rare and stuff. And then, but the thing is, I had a connection with the newsstands because and the Mark Jewelers, because my dad was I lived on the Air Force Base. I was born at Air Force Base. I lived on the Air Force Base. So we used to go to the home base, it was called. And I started getting comics from there too. So I do still have some old comics of mine that were newsstands that my dad bought from over there. So
Oh, nice.
there's like a military connection to that stuff too. So that's kind of like why I've even drawn more towards it. But yeah, I am a high grade snob, but I don't buy high grade slabs. I'm not. I changed the way that I buy comics now, and they changed the way I collect. So I grade comics, I clean and press comics, but
you clean and press them yourself?
Yeah, I clean and press them myself. Yeah, I don't. I've had CGC do it, but the thing is, I don't like the fact that I have to hand it over to somebody else and then trust them. I don't know the person to do some cleaning and pressing for me. And I've watched enough videos to see like some people have had bad experiences. And the thing I don't like to do is waste time. And I don't want to waste time on, having that book sent all the way to CGC, and then they grade it. The grade doesn't go well. I get it back, and the book is not even, it's clearly not, cleaned up and stuff. So, I started learning pressing. I think it was like last year, and I started just doing it myself. And I messed up some books in the beginning because I was learning how to clean. I was learning all the techniques and stuff, but I'm a minimalist. I don't like to go crazy. I'm not gonna whiten the book, but I will, apply moisture and stuff and clean it up and stuff. But I'm not doing any whitening, no touch ups. I don't do any of that stuff. It's just very simple stuff.
I think the point that you were making is one of the things that holds JP and I back is that, we got a good buddy, Mike, we've had on the show. He has friends with the guy that he drives to. He knows he does a great job. He drops him off and he drives and picks him back up, right? The turnaround's nice. For JP and I, we got to find somebody that we got to ship these to. Most pressers that you hear have like a 6-week turnaround at the quickest.
Yeah.
And then you got to get them back, and or sometimes they can forward them on. It's just like the whole idea of just like sending them away. You don't know what's going to happen. It's not an ideal experience. So I can see why you'd want to get into that.
I bought a press myself. So sometimes I do press some of the books, and I try some of the cleaning, like getting the dirt marks off. But like, unless it's a white cover, you really can't do much with the eraser because you'll mess it up. At least that's what I've learned. But yeah, I'll try to clean up some of them, but I don't want to have to ship it, like Rohan said, to somebody. Yeah. And 6 weeks later get it back, and maybe they didn't really do a very good job. So like I got my first set of Mark Jewelers this last weekend. I never had found any in the wild, and I have a ton of newsstands, and the one was wavy from, I don't know if it was water damage or just where it was stored at, but I mean, I was able to press it pretty flat, and get those waves out of it, and at least it presents better. And that's really what I'm trying to do, is have it present better when I have it in Mylar, or have it, to trade it for something else. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make like an S50, a 9.8. No, that's not going to happen for me.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why I wanted to do it myself, is because I actually like that. I like to do grade bumps, so I like to see if I can do something with that book. But it's patience. If you have no patience, don't do pressing yourself.
Yeah, I think that'd be my problem.
Yeah, you have to be patient with the book, especially when you got to press 10 times to get it to where you want to be. And I'm very meticulous, so I knew I would be good at pressing stuff and cleaning things because I have a good eye for certain things, but I'm just very meticulous, and I have some patience with my collectible. But
the one thing though with pressing is, I was gonna say, I have a X-Men 266 at the newsstand I found at a flea market, and I was able to press it. I think it's probably a 9.0 or 9.2, possibly, but somebody must have written on like piece of paper on top of it, so there's indentation marks on the book, and I have this steel ball. I can't get the marks out of it. I've pressed it like 10 times, and I don't really want to mess with it too much further, because if my luck, I'll poke a hole right through it, and then ruin the book. So
yeah,
patience is definitely.
If you have experience getting those out, because you have to apply moisture to those, right, too, and you have to just make sure the rolling the bearing ball, you have to be patient with that. And sometimes you can't take it out. But if you're new at it, I don't want to mess the book up. Like I wouldn't.
Right. I tried to take another book that was messed up the same way to try to get it out. But I have a heat chamber. I put, what do you call it? Distilled water in it. Lay the book down on top of it, and I let it sit overnight. And it doesn't get humid enough. I even put like a plastic bag over top the opening and then sealed it closed, and I still can't keep the humidity in that chamber.
Yeah, so I don't do humidity chamber. I'll show you what I use because it works.
Ryan just has a spray bottle. He just sprays it.
That's what I was wondering. Do you have like steam?
I use this.
Oh, nice.
So I just put the book up and just go. That's all I do on it. And
where do you buy that at? On
Amazon.
Amazon. Nice.
You're working too hard, JP.
Yeah,
I got this whole humidity chamber
from
Bronze and Modern Gods. I went and bought PVC pipe. You get 4 equal pieces of PVC pipe to lay down a grill, and then lay the book on top of it, and you fold it in paper, and not in like a thick towel. And I can never get them humid enough that they are malleable enough to press the indentations out of it. I can get it pretty flat, and they look much better after they've been pressed. Like they look shinier when they've been pressed. At least as I noticed it. Like it's noticeably different if you just press a book, even if you didn't clean it up, like you wiped off some of the dirt. But it can definitely look much brighter once it's been pressed. At least I've noticed it. So,
right. Or go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was gonna say, with talking about this, do you ever keep your books raw, or do you do it all to get them graded eventually?
Okay, so when I determine when I'm going to grade a book is if there's money there. Like if I used to just do it just because I wanted it graded, but most of my personal collection now, I've just kept them raw. Mm-hmm. And the only time I want to grade a book is if I know there's a value there and I can get a certain grade. Because right now I've actually been pretty good at predicting some grades that have come out now, but I usually just wait. I say, okay, is there money? Am I leaving money left on this one? Like I have an ASM 238 that was probably like a 6. I would say like a 6.0, maybe almost a 7. And I clean pressed that thing. I did humidity on it, everything. And it's probably closer to a 9 now after what I've done. And that's the value has gone up. So yeah, I'm sending that to get graded. Mm-hmm. So I only grade books that I feel like if I definitely want to keep it slabbed for a PC, I will either hold off on those ones. I only grade to sell now because I know there's going to be value in there. It's not worth it. If like back in the day, it used to be worth it with the prices, but now, like if you want to,
we've talked about like I don't understand how there's so many people that just like grade these like $60 books and things like that. I'm like, it's just not worth the money it takes to do it. And to me, the way I look at it is like, if I'm going to, and I haven't done anything since my first submission, but the way I kind of look at it now is the books that I have that are raw, I'm perfectly happy with them being raw. Like, I should say, when it comes to buying, do I care if it's graded or if it's raw? I will buy whatever I find the book I want has the right value, right? Like,
right.
If it happens to be graded, great. If it happens to be raw, if it's a good value purchase, I'll go raw. I'm not afraid of that. Obviously, depending on the book, I'll want to know who I'm buying it from, so I know if he's checked it for restoration, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But from there, I kind of just think like, at a minimum, like this has to be at like a $400, $500 book for me to even consider grading it. Because otherwise, it's like, let's just say even a modern book, it's like $25 a grade. Let's say $40 shipping each, total for going both ways. Then if you're going to clean and press it, that's another $20. Like, I mean, you're essentially in $100 a book, and it's like the book's not even worth that. It's like, I don't get why people grade so many of these books, but to each their own.
Well, but also I think grading has gone absolutely through the roof since the pandemic started. Mm-hmm. Everyone's got into it. Like, if you were collecting before that, you obviously are aware of grading, but a lot of people are grading now. The same thing happened with cards. People were sending in like $2 cards to get graded. And then and that's why they had that backlog at PSA, who I normally grade with the most. They had a backlog. It was like 18 months.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
and then that's why they raised the price, right, to slow down that backlog.
yeah, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna bump the price up," and that made sense. Totally made sense from a business perspective. But the thing is, it's everyone was sending in everything, just junk cards, and that's what it's like. The junk wax era, the junk slab era was coming up, and like I was guilty. I sent in some cards, but the thing is, they had good deals going on. It's like $9 a card or $8 a card. They will never go back to that.
Yeah.
They're at 15, I think $15 is like the cheapest you can go, and that's like for TCG. But yeah, everyone was grading stuff. They saw all these slabs and everything. But guess what's going on right now? Slabs aren't selling. You go to a live sale, people ain't buying the slabs off the wall. They're buying the raw books. The market's completely turned.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I mean, I've noticed that the last, I would say 6 months since I've been buying books. But I've also, and I'm a perfect example, I changed. I don't buy slabs anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't make any sense for me because I know I can just buy a raw book, potentially get a higher grade out of it and stuff. So, impress it and clean it.
Yeah. Where are you where do you find, what are your sources for buying? Where do you like go to? Are you a eBay guy, IG claim sale guy? Where do you go to source your stuff?
So cards is usually through eBay or mostly through eBay or friends through IG. But comics, Dave, West Coast Avengers.
Yep.
I've been on Dave's live sale. Dave, man, but for like customer service wise, like he's top notch, dude. Like he'll give out some freebies. He'll cut you deals on shipping. But the thing is about him, when you buy a book from him and he puts the grade on it, it's pretty damn close. He's good with the grades. His prices are like way below market and stuff. So I usually go through Dave's, his live sale.
That's good that you say that. I've told this also before. Like I always feel like I have the opposite experience. Like I'll be somewhere and there, be a raw book and I'm like, what's your estimate on it? Like, oh, this is a 4.0, and then they'll always give me this line like, but I grade conservatively, and it's like, okay, here we go. And then like I've graded that once, and it's like, no, it's actually a 2.5 or a 3.0, and it's just like every time. So now whenever I hear that, so it's good to hear that Dave is the opposite of that.
Yeah, he's good. And I also go through I used to buy a lot through my local comic shop. It's A1 Comics.
Oh, okay, yeah. I watch their live sales every once in a while.
Yeah, they're pretty well known, and I have the luxury of having a shop in Folsom. They don't have a huge amount of comics, so mostly TCG. But I go to their live sales. I've been doing that, I think, for close to a year now. But their prices last year were getting kind of ridiculous, and I was like, I got to find somewhere else to buy books. So I moved back to eBay, and then I found obviously Dave's live sale stuff through when I was on Justin Spidey Hits channel. When Dave popped on and stuff, and he has live sales, I hopped on and I was like, the prices are great, and he always, like I said, he always sends like cool things, extra stuff, and he's super personable, man. It's nice. I feel like you could, if I'm gonna buy something like this, outside of a store, I need to be somebody I trust. And
totally,
right.
Totally, yeah. That's what we talked about it a couple weeks ago with Cheddar Comics. Like, I don't like buying on eBay because it's just a very cold experience. So it's like, it's nice to know who you're buying from. Plus, I just feel better like buying from someone that versus just some person in the ether.
Yeah, right. It's buying from a good dude. But I found some books that I've been looking for a while. They're just old Wolverine books, like from the 90s. And I believe all of them have Andy Kubert art on them, which I'm a huge fan. I grew up with his art for Wolverine and X-Men and stuff. And I messaged the guy on eBay, and I'm like, hey, can you is there any way to lower your cost of shipping? Because it said $17 on it. And I'm like, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It wasn't graded.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, it was. It's shipping. He's shipping like $5, like $17.50. I messaged him and I said, can you any way you could go down on the shipping? I'm just asking nicely. And then this response I get back is, you do know I'm missing out, or I'm losing money on shipping. And then I'm like, wait, what? Like that's not. I was just asking if you could lower it. But he was super condescending. And then I was like, there's no way to lower it. Like, he didn't answer my question. And then he said, it's already at the standard rate. You do know it's already at below the standard rate. And I'm like, what is this guy seeing? Like, is he What is he? Does he not know that he's charging $17.50 to ship a few books?
Yeah, in
So
a Gemini mailer. Like,
yeah, and I'm like, so I asked him. I said, "What are you seeing on your end?" He sends it to me. It says $8.90, and because it shows his location, it's not. He didn't select like a flat fee shipping rate. He did off his location, and as a buyer on eBay, normally if you don't charge a flat fee, it's going to be based off your location. So I said it's $17 to ship to me, and he goes, "Oh," and I'm like, and I said, I was like, you know what? I realize I don't even want to buy from you, dude. Like I just asked a simple question, and he was super condescending. But like I just, that's what sucks about eBay. Sometimes you get good sellers, and they pack really well, but sometimes you don't, man.
Yeah,
So,
I was just gonna say too, with all these people I've met in the hobby, Dave is the one I've actually met because he lives not too far from me. So
right.
I've met him a couple times. Yeah. I was telling JP about this. Have you seen that? You've obviously seen the new Spider-Man collection he got.
Yeah.
Like that is, I mean, like JP, have you
Those
watched the video yet?
Those are the clear.
These are all like silver. I think like the earliest, I think the lowest one is 4. And it goes, I know it goes up to 50 for sure. So it's like 40 books between 4 and 50. And these things look like facsimiles. They're like that.
It's because the inside pages are white.
Like white.
They're whiter than my Copper Age, like ASMs that I have. They're white. Mine are off. I have some of them are off white to white, and they are brighter than those books by far. Even my white pages are brighter.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like,
I
actually think he's doing his live claim sale tonight with some of them in it.
Yeah. I asked him about some stuff. He's not into trading, he said.
I don't think he does too much trading. Yeah, I don't think really anybody. There's not many people doing trading.
I traded with him one time, and I initiated the trade, and I regret it. And it's only because I missed that card. That's all.
What did you trade?
So I sent 2 cards in for the Todd McFarlane signature thing last year. And one of the cards I got was it's a 2013 Rittenhouse Battles Spider-Man versus Venom. It had the ASM 316 cover on it.
Oh yeah, I know the card. Yeah,
Todd signed it as a full Todd signature, full Todd McFarlane in white, and he did a perfect placement, everything. It's on my IG, and man, it was a good looking card. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I could make some money off it. So I did put it up for sale, but I put it at a high price. And then Dave had a book that I wanted, which is another ASM 316. And yeah, I traded that for the I think it was like a 9.0. And I thought the values were pretty close. But like after I did that, I was like, I should have kept that card. Well, nothing against Dave, but Dave, the trading part, he's not big to trade because he needs to move it. He's got a business. He needs to move items and stuff. And it's understandable. So you really got to trade with collectors.
Yeah, I agree.
So they're more trades.
It seemed like Mark from Collectibles was into trading, from what I gathered.
Yeah, he's
early on, but then his books, he said, things had to be what was the word, in demand that he wanted.
I mean,
right?
You can't. The other thing is right. Like,
there's value.
You
saw what happened that Lobo book. He didn't want that book, and then a week later, he's like, "Do you have that Lobo book?"
Yeah, nope, he may not be. I think like from Mark's perspective, like he is a business too, just like Dave. And if he's going to trade, it needs to be a book that he can sell quickly. Like he doesn't want to hold on to it. Yeah. So if he doesn't know about it, like I can't blame him for that. And I get that. Like if this is what these guys do for a living and they got to make money, they're not making money getting more books back. So if he is going to be up to trade, it's going to be a book that he can then turn around and sell quickly.
Right. Unless it's something you want, like it's like if it's ASM, Mark Jeweller's newsstand or something like that, he's really like a Todd book that he doesn't have yet or anything like that. But more than likely anybody who has a business doing live sales and stuff, they got to move something, right? They're going to do some trades. So and that makes sense. I've done trades with Manu, and he's kind of similar. He's the same way. He has to see if we can, if he can move. It's items he's going to move unless it's something he really, really wants. And it's going to go to his collection. So
yeah, and I think too, also like kind of with Mark JP is like he knows his audience. At least he's under the impression that he knows his audience, and is like he may not have an audience for that Lobo book that does have value, but he may not be able to sell it to the people that he sells to. Like Manu is a perfect example of that. Like
Lobo from Dell Comics, like the first
Yeah, from like the 50s.
black cowboy in
Yeah, yeah.
comics, Ryan. So
Exactly,
that
yeah. So like when you look at Mark's sales, it's always like Marvel and Silver to Bronze Age kind of stuff. It's kind of same thing with like Manu. Like Manu, like we've talked about, has that audience for that kind of 90s nostalgia, symbiote, black suit, all that stuff. Like he turns and burns that, like he sells it so fast because he's curated that audience. So he may not be interested in a the Lobo from the Black Cowboy Lobo book, even though it does have value. I mean, you obviously then sold it on eBay fairly quickly, which is great for you. But I understand that.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Manu's a perfect example. His Instagram followers and stuff that he's had is throughout the years, they're all kind of like very similar. It's like his tribe of people and his clientele. They know like, hey, Manu's going to get a high end newsstand for this, or a Mark Jewelers or something, a Spawn Air. So like he knows that he can definitely move these things quick because he already knows his audience. They like the same things he do, like he does. So it's nice.
I will say for Manu, it is kind of fun. I've been talking a little bit more recently. He's been getting into more vintage stuff. Like we've talked about like ASM 50 and things like that. And he's like, I look at that book now and it hits me even differently. And I'm like, yes, here we go. Yeah. So
that's what happened when I bought the Spectacular Spider-Man magazine.
The one you posted this week.
Yeah, from 1968. So like I opened it up and like it's only black and white. And I was just looking at this black and white, pages. John Romita's and like his art's in there. And I was just blown away because I'm used to seeing Todd, of course. Todd McFarlane's like, he's my number one person that I collect for his books. But the John Romita art though, man, I don't know. It hit differently, and it was like, what am I missing out? I have early SM books, not like not nothing below 100, but like I've seen some books that I have, and I'm like, I never even opened them up. So now I'm pulling them out, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, man, I'm missing out on a lot. So
yeah, Romita is my favorite Spider-Man by far. I just love vintage comic book art. Oh yeah, don't be wrong. Like McFarlane is phenomenal. That's not to take away from. I just again, this kind of goes back. So JP's not a Jack Kirby fan, Ryan. And it's like a perfect example. Like I love just that vintage comic style, that aesthetic. And so Kirby, Romita, John Buscema, like those are like my favorite artists when it comes to comic books. And so like that's kind of what I gravitate towards when I want to collect. So yeah, I love the Romita Spider-Man. Like Ditko's great. Like, and I would absolutely love anything by Ditko because that's early ASM. But like, I think Romita he took Spider-Man to another level.
No, his artwork is great, man. And I was afraid I was gonna like it because that stuff is more expensive than the stuff that I collect from the 90s. So I was like, no, don't. And I opened up, I was like, because I saw the cover and I was like, this is a cool cover. And it's 55 years old. So I was like, I'm just gonna pick this up. And I picked up the Foom 17, the Stan Lee book.
Oh yeah.
I got those both from A1 Comics. And that one I had to grab that one. I mean, it matches the 90 MU card.
The Foom book I want, I think that everybody wants, is is it Foom 10? It's actually the first appearance of the new X-Men team, so it actually predates Giant Size X-Men 1. Not a cheap book though. That book is awesome though.
Yeah, I saw the Fooms they had on their pre-life sale thing, the preview, and they didn't have that. But as soon as I saw the Stan Lee, I was like, yeah, I gotta hop on this live sale tonight.
Yeah, there's some great ones like the Dr. Doom is a Jack Kirby Dr. Doom cover. The one with the Hulk is Steranko, and inside that Hulk one is actually the first like iteration of a Wolverine. Like I think it's like a fan wrote in, and like it's like a concept art that he drew of Wolverine that Marvel then used.
Yeah, that was for sale. Someone snatched it up.
Oh yeah, that's a cool one.
They had that one too, and he was talking about
one either.
It's much cheaper than like Foom 10. Like you could get it for a couple $100, I think, maybe even a little less. But yeah, it's not like $10 or anything.
Yeah, that one was available. I mean, it got snatched up. I thought about grabbing that one too.
Yeah, I'm a Silver Surfer guy, and I can't remember which number, but there's a Foom, and I think it's Buscema that did the Silver Surfer one. That's also pretty cool. Yeah, the Fooms are pretty awesome books.
Well, Lawrence from Muddy Comics just got back from NYCC, and he picked up a bunch of early ASMs because he's trying to collect 1, 2, 301, I think it is.
Yeah.
Something like that, somewhere in the 300s. And he got, like, they were $5 for some of those ones in the 100 to 130 range, 90s.
Yeah, he got great deals. I watched that video. He got great deals on those.
So, I mean, you can find them if like you said, you're a snob in regard to the condition, right? Or like you want, but if you're getting an older book, do you care if those ones are just, do you mind if they're in mid grade or do they have to be in high grade?
I'm okay with mid grade. I mean, I'm not.
Okay, I didn't know.
I'm not a snobbyist. I mean, for 90s,
Right.
90s stuff, I am because I
Okay,
want.
I didn't know if it was even to that point too, because
Yeah,
I mean,
I
like
like
everyone,
I like
like,
it through some stuff. I like that it's been like I picked up that Spider-Man book I grabbed. It was like like a 4 to 5.0, and it's like, but it's been through something. It's got that age. It's been aged,
been read.
and
Yeah.
I just love it. And the smell of it, I was like, there's something about the smell of these old comics, and even the comics. Yeah,
it's like an antique store.
Yeah.
I will tell you one thing that I've learned about myself, like especially we'll take Copper Age moving forward. I have had a lot of those first appearances, and I've actually recently moved a lot of them out to pay for some older stuff. But what I noticed is like I had a New Mutants 98 first Deadpool, and it was a 9.4, so it's a high grade. But what annoyed me is like there are so many 9.8s of that book that I was upset that I didn't have a 9.8. Why wasn't this 9.4 and 9.8? But I don't want to pay the 9.8 price for that book. So I sold that since, but like when I collect it back, I just want a nice raw copy, so I don't have to worry about seeing a number on it that then like annoys me when I see the 9.8. Like I'll be fine with it raw.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like going back to what JP said, he said he likes like you want your books to look pretty clean, right? So if you got to press, like I don't just press and clean my books so that I grade them. I press and clean them so that they look good in the Mylar. And I have them. I'm looking at it and I'm like, because it does. It is a big difference. Like when you get irregular bags and boards, I like doing the the Mylights too with the full back, and it just presents so much better. And to me, it's
beautiful.
It's so much satisfying to see it in that than just in a regular bag and board that you just you can get from your local comic shop.
Yeah, when it's in that, when it's graded, it obviously has a different presence to it. But what's in a Mylar to me, it's like a book you still can read, but it looks really like it's graded almost because it's pristine looking because the Mylar is so nice and
it makes the book look present a lot. Like I'll give you an example. I got two books over here, right? Two really good books. Well, two of my favorite books, but they're in Mylars. Like, and they look way better in these, than if I put them in a regular bag and board.
100%, yeah.
They're not super high grade, but like it looks better like that. And I like to collect like this.
I also like how you got the slightly bigger size. You get a nice like white border to kind of frame it with the book
right?
behind. Yeah, it looks perfect.
That's those golden age Mylights or
these
I thought Silver Age ones.
Mine
are.
Those are probably Silver Age because those are modern books, so those are thinner. So those are probably Silver Age Mylars.
Yeah,
let's see that. That's Mylar.
Yeah,
this is like a 4-ply Mylar though.
Sometimes
the back has to stay closed.
They're hard to close down. You need like I have some of those. I bought those. That's the first ones I bought. Were the
I probably would go 2-ply next time, just like
the 2s are nice. They fold easily over.
Yep.
So Ryan, talk to us about like what are your collecting ambitions now and moving forward? Like what are you wanting your collection to steer towards?
And that's a good question. I've changed a lot in the last couple of years of like what I'm doing now. I don't grade as much, but I don't know. I mean, I like collecting and I like being part of the hobby. So like interacting with people, I want to interact more with the hobby people, like trading, selling stuff. I always have like, I give away things, which is nice, but I graded cards to kind of do that. I have more cards I can just give away if someone buys something off of me. But from a collecting side, I like to create a collectible. And like what I mean by that is like find like a card or something. I'll give you an example. Like this card right here. You can only get this in the comic images, right? This is a comic images only card. And you can get this in the keepsake collection. And one of the keepsake collections that you can get for comic images. And the card just slides around in there, right? And like there's no PSA 10 of this exists. So like if I can find one of these and then get a PSA 10 of that, grade it myself, then like I'll keep it. It's mine unless somebody wants to offer me, tons of money for it. But like this type of thing I'm going after right now is trying to grade cards that are like, they're just not, they don't have them in high grade and or some unique items. Like I've collected a bunch of stuff that people don't have, currently. Like I have that slab 94. What is it? I just recently posted it. It's the 94 master print of Amazing Spider-Man. Series one.
Yeah. You said you posted that on Discord. I saw. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got that. That's a pop one. There ain't no PSA 10s. Like I like unique stuff like that. So I've kind of been doing. I have a new way of fixing up cards. I can't really say what I do to them, but it's acceptable. All I can say is acceptable for PSA to accept them. So that's good. But I have a way where like I could take a 90s card and if it got any type of dimples or anything on the surface of it, I could fix it.
That's like it's funny that like people think that you shouldn't do that with cards. And it's like, as long as I don't know why that would be frowned upon. Like as long as it doesn't change the card.
No, it doesn't.
And it improves it. Like I say more power to you.
Hey, they do stuff with you can do stuff with comic books. Why not do it with cards?
I 100% agree.
If the card's non-foil and it's made out of cardboard, like there's things that you can do to it to get rid of that stuff. You can flatten it out. You can.
Or can't they tell when you press a card somehow or something like that? I thought you weren't able to press a card.
You can.
You can.
You can press cards. Yeah, you can press cards.
I mean, I figured the same way you press a comic book, but somebody said like they know it or something, or you're not like. I don't know.
I just sent in an order and got it back. I had a couple press cards in there, and they didn't.
I think it's more JP that like it's just people consider it like frowned upon. But again, like I fully believe like if you can improve it without altering it, like I don't see like even we had Michael from Cool Card Life on, and he grades thousands of cards, and he talked about how like. That corner's got a little bit. He's like,
why not?
He'll kind of flatten it out with his thumb or something like that. He's like, why would I not? Like, I totally agree.
I just heat up some metal plates, flatten it down, and then wait the next day and come out, and it's gone. All the surface issues are gone because you can get cards out of packs, right? Mm-hmm. And they could have it can be perfect. It can have clean edges. It can get clean corners. The back looks good. The center looks good. But then there's this little thing on like the surface. You're like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm putting that thing in. I'm heating that sucker up. I'm pressing it down. Next day I come out, it's gone.
Yeah.
How can they tell I did that?
Yeah.
How can they tell that I did that?
Yeah. I think though, JP, the one thing you got to be careful is like a lot of cards have like fancy foil on them and things like that.
Yeah, you don't
want to alter like because part of the grade, one of the 4 things of grade is the surface. Yeah. And so like if you by heating it up or whatever, it fucks you can't press a foil like those 90s foil covers, you can't press those. Mm-hmm. So kind of same thing with cards. You just got to know what you're doing, I think. But like I fully am with not that I do it, but because I don't know how to press, but I fully with it. If you can improve it without altering it, Why not? It should be fair game.
I'm not going to keep spending more money to open up packs and stuff or trying to buy a raw card off eBay where it says near mint. It comes in your thing. It's all jacked up. So no.
Yeah.
If I can control the grade somehow, some possible way, I'm going to try to do it myself, and I don't care.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question then. So like on that creating your own collectibles, which essentially is like, you're creating some pop 1 items like that Venom card. You do it. You're successful. Someone else does it. Now it's a pop 2. Does it lose its luster, or do you have enough novelty being the first?
Yeah, then you gotta find something else.
So you're on to the next one.
The thing is, that's good because then, like, I don't know, maybe somebody else wanted to do it, and that's great. That's cool to either set a trend or have people do that as well. But yeah, it would suck if it's like, it turns into like how grading was the last couple of years where everyone's just throwing stuff in,
Yeah.
But I just like unique items like that. Like this is a cool card. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't see a lot of them graded. I don't see anything. So I'm like, I'm going to try to make this myself, and it's really for my enjoyment. It ain't about making money.
It's your form of the hunt.
Yeah. This is my form of the hunt is finding certain items and stuff, collectibles that I can, possibly improve. and I actually enjoy that more. Like I said, I got that ASM 238 that I'm going to improve. I have a bunch of other books that I'm going to improve, and I'm going to see if I can bump up the grades. And if they get good grades, I'm selling. They're going to offer to sell, but because I'm not going to keep a high grade book. I really am not going to keep it unless it's something for my PC. Like it's something that I have had that book for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. No, I think that's great. I think it's a great way to keep it, kind of fresh and alive for you. No, I think it's a good way to strategize.
I'm gonna start trying to press them on my cards. Actually,
yeah. All I can say is if they're thick, if they're thicker cards.
That one probably because that's foil, right? You can't press that one.
Yeah, you can't press the foil ones, but like I would say I have a couple of these cards that I'll be sending in. So these right here, these guys, yeah. These are good examples that you could do them. These McFarlane
These ones, the McFarlane ones, you can, right?
Yeah. Yep. And then I'm gonna be. Oops. Hold on. Almost dropped that. I'm gonna be sending these into the Jim Lee signing. So like cards like this. So like.
That's the best Wolverine.
Right, hands down. That's got the glossy cards. You can cold press them, but that's it. You can't heat press those. But this one's pretty cool. So that Kith, the X-Men Kith thing that came out.
Yeah.
So like these cards. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna get Jim Lee to sign this.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, there probably won't be too many of those.
But yeah, definitely any 90s, I would say non-foil, non-glossy, you can do it.
Yeah. Ryan, I wanted to ask this a while ago, but you mentioned when you were growing up that you collected with your brother. Do you guys still collect together, or is he out of it, or?
So my brother has not come back to the collecting stuff. And, I've reached out to my mom, and cause she has a bunch of my stuff. Like I just got some of my comics from a childhood, probably like, I would say 3 or 4 months ago. And
nice.
She finally gave them to me. They're not in the best condition, of course, but the thing is, what's crazy is I end up every time I saw these certain books, I bought them, and now I know why, because I had them as a kid. So there was connection there. But my brother, he's stopped. He has not come back to that. So he hasn't hit that yet. But we're like, me and my brother are about 3.5 years apart. So I'm hoping that maybe later on he'll come back to his collecting days. But I've always been a collector. I collected everything.
What else have you collected? Just curious now you said that.
Well, you got comics, magazines, action figures, Legos. I mean,
I love Legos.
Yeah, so I have the Daily Bugle that I built, and it's lit up. I put a light kit on it, and that thing took me, I don't know how long to build that, but like my son's only 6, so he loves Legos. So I have a connection right there. If I can connect something with my child, and we can have something, I can collect something with them, enjoy it with them, then it's gonna be part of my collection. It has some meaning. And then plus I can just, my son, if I build something, like I have like a Millennium Falcon, I have a bunch of Star Wars Lego sets that I like that I built with my son, and they're gonna be his. They're the bigger ones. So but Legos are expensive. I had to stop with Legos because
it's funny. Like I think about like I had a lot of Legos when I was a kid, and my parents were not into spending. I'm sure you've heard this like we're Indian, like we like getting good deals. You can be pretty cheap. So it's like when I see the prices of Legos, I don't understand like what were the prices when I was growing up, because there's no way my parents would no way would pay what they cost nowadays. Like, and I had some cool stuff.
Well, because so the reason why they're so expensive now is because they have like Marvel, Disney, they have all these big companies and stuff, and they're like they're certain, like they're increasing charges and stuff on these sets.
Licensing fees and stuff. I'm sure.
Licensing fees. So like if you bought the Daily Bugle was like $300.
But like you said, you got the big ones. Like did you say the Millennium Falcon? Did you say you had?
Yeah, I have. So the sizes that I have are ones that are going to be where a minifigure can sit in them.
Yeah, like those are awesome.
I'm
But
not
like,
going to buy the $800 one that's going to take you like 3.5 months to build. I'm not going to buy that.
oh,
But
okay. I thought that's what you were saying. I was gonna say, like, yeah,
yeah,
you
no
see those
way. My
ones
wife
that are
would kill
huge.
me if I came home with that giant box of them.
Yeah, I would love, even today, I would love to put that together. That'd be so fun. But yeah, like
It would be
$800.
fun, but where are you going to put it? It's huge.
Yeah,
Like
but
my
like
daily bugle is on top of a bookshelf, and it's massive. It's like 3.5 feet tall.
yeah.
I'm like, I got no space for that.
The funny thing is like after I build it, like I probably would want to just break it and then build it again. That's like what I like doing with the Legos.
Hell no.
But yeah, like $800 on a Lego thing would be. It would be, I don't know, I'd have a hard time doing that. If I had a lot of money, I would have no problem doing it.
Though it's very therapeutic though. So
yeah, like I went to one of our friends' kids, they had his like 6th birthday recently that we went to, and on his table he had like the Avengers jet Lego set, and he wasn't building it. Dude, I sat there for like an hour and a half. I put that thing all together. It was awesome.
It's funny when the grown men are actually playing with more Legos than the actual kids are. Like we're getting into it and stuff. That's how it is over at my house. Like my son gets a new set, I want to build it and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I was asked, since you said action figures and you were integrating or are integrating, have you graded any of the action figures?
No, I mean I'm not going to grade them because what's going to happen eventually is that I end up giving them my son and he'll just rip those suckers right out. So yeah, I had my turtles, my Ninja Turtle ones, and he's like, and I had the turtle wagon, and I had as a kid, and he's like, my son's like, I want to play with that. I'm like, okay, here you go. You know, I can't hold on to all of my collectibles, and I had like last year I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what I want to collect because I can't collect comics, cards, Legos, action figure. I can't do all that. Oh yeah, and video game stuff. I have arcade. I had a couple arcades too, and you can't do that financially.
Yeah.
It's like when your mother-in-law comes over and she just sees you with all these new toys and she's just like, what the heck is going on? And I'm starting to get stuff more than the kids. And I started realizing, okay, like Ryan, you need to figure this out. Like, what do you really want to collect now? And what do you enjoy about, what hobby you enjoy the most? And it comes down to like I said, I like doing creating my own collectible type thing. I like to improve things. I like that aspect. So, and it's cost effective for me. So yeah, I had to quit Lego. I had to quit, I buy action figures, but I don't go crazy. I'm not like, Justin's got like 100,
He's got like dioramas and things going on.
Yeah. He has like if I see something I like at a store or something, I'll pick it up for a reasonable price. I'm not going to spend a lot of money on them, but but I keep them inside their packaging. But yeah, for action figures, I'll never grade them. They're just going to go to my son.
Yeah.
Some of those action figures, if you go to Target or, Walmart, they're like $20 for a, Star Wars guy or, Spider-Man still in the box. I'm like, $20. This stuff was like $5 years and years ago. I'm not paying $20 for a damn, name it, Luke Skywalker or whatnot. So I usually wait till I find them on a deal to get them in box and keep them that way. But
yeah, and some of them don't sell. It's they'll go on clearance and stuff, and you can get them at good deals. And I usually wait to do. I'll say I'm not going to get it immediately. If I see it at the store, I'll say, okay, what's the price on it? And I'm like, yeah, I could $10. Yeah, I'm snatching it up. I like it. It's mine. But if it's something expensive, I usually wait.
Back in the early 2000s, right after episode 1, 2, or 3 came out for Star Wars, I went to a Toys R Us and was looking through all the Star Wars figures on the shelf and found a Boba Fett. Now, I'm sure it wasn't that rare, but I found it still in the box. It wasn't a, 1979 Boba Fett, but it was, from 1999 or whatever year it was. I put that with Darth Maul and some things I'd bought before I had kids in a suitcase. And we moved from one house to the other once I had kids. And my third kid found that suitcase full of everything still in the box and opened everything up and said, I want Daddy to play with all his toys. And he opened them all up. See? And I couldn't even open that suitcase for like a year. I didn't want to see how bad the damage was.
Oh man. Yeah.
So it sat in there for a year.
Yeah, if you have kids, they see it and they want to open it up and play with it. So
well, that's why like you got you got the, your setup behind you with all your books and stuff. Like, I don't have a dedicated room in my house that I could like theoretically lock. And so I could find some space to kind of do a little setup, but like I have 6-year-old and 4-year-old twins. There's just no way I want to risk that, because it's like,
You gotta
it's
put
like,
them up high.
yeah, oh no, dude.
Up high.
So then they get a broom. They get a broom to knock them down.
They get like tools, and like they know how to get. It's just like, I'm not risking that. It just right now.
I can see them with a drill bit trying to get into that CGC.
Yeah,
trying to get in there.
I want to read this. It's kind of like, you remember the movie The Sandlot, when like the kid takes his dad, they're like, we need a baseball. He's like, oh, I got a baseball, and he goes gets his dad's like Babe Ruth. That's like the nightmare scenario that I envision. So it's like, until they're older, they're gonna stay in the closet right now.
Well, I don't really have a room. I have so I work from home. So I turned my master bedroom is really large. So it's like half of it's a bedroom and half of it's pretty much an office I made out of it. And I've taken over since, I started collecting more during the pandemic. So like I have a corner of a shelf over there with like my Carnage cards, my Venom cards, my Black Spidey cards, my Wolverine stuff.
Oh yeah, I see you posted that.
Yeah, and I've only posted 3 of the shelves. I have more stuff on the bottom shelves. And then I have it's like these shelves up here. I have another 2 shelves on the other side of the wall with more books.
And your wife is okay with this in the bedroom?
No.
That's because
I've taken over the master bedroom. It is pretty much a hobby room now, because I have no other room.
Yeah.
Family room is gone. The living room, family room, everything's taken. Everything is spoken for. But I said, can I at least have this room? I need some enjoyment, and this is it. So I get to work in here every day and sit and stare at my collectibles, because I didn't want to stare at a blank wall. I'm like, my autographs. I got autographs up here. I got my X-Men versus Street Fighter arcade. It's right across from me. So if I want to go play that, I'll play that. So like it's turned in my like own little hobby game room.
Yeah, like we have a fairly sizable bedroom as well, and on the side that I sleep on the bed, there's a nice wall there. I'm like, oh man, my comics would look really nice if I won't even broach that subject with my wife. Like, that is not.
Just ask her for a corner, and then progressively start making it bigger.
Yeah, dude. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah. See, the Absolute Game of Nerds, we're a podcast for marriage advice.
Yeah, right.
Don't ever get married. That's what I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's what my dad said.
Yep.
Wait, what did you just say, JP?
Don't ever get married. That's what my dad and uncle both told me, and my cousin 20 years ago.
Why don't we ever listen to the older men? Like, we don't listen at all. I mean, we already don't listen. We don't already listen to our wives. We hear about 20%, and then we absorb about 10, and that's it. So yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's true.
Anymore now, someone starts talking to me and I'm like, okay, I'm looking on Facebook, I'm on eBay, I'm on IG. I'm not thinking now anymore anyway.
You got to earn JP's attention now.
Yeah.
Just flash a book. They'll just flash a book in front of you. And you go,
hey, I got you.
What do you need? Okay, let's talk.
Yep.
Let's talk.
That's what it has to be now. It's got my attention, but the room I'm in down here used to be all a toy room for my kids. They had a toy room upstairs, and then they moved it down here. And this room was one you had to clean up with a shovel. That's how much stuff was on the ground. In order to clean it, I shoveled it into boxes, and then I slowly made it a comic book room. And my wife's like, when do I get a room? She wants her own room to do, what her hobbies are. Yeah. I'm like, so she's going to use the room where I do pressing at. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make that another office over there, and, maybe put some books up. And she's like, well, where am I going to go? I'm like, I don't know. I can't do that.
You got to have your own place, especially with like life. There's so many things you got. If you're married, you got kids, you got work. You need a place where you can just come into, and it's just stuff that you enjoy, right? And you look at it, and you get hit with nostalgia. You just get hit with the good feelings, and I use it it's therapy to me.
Oh yeah.
I use that in the gym. If I go to the gym and stuff, I get my therapy there. And if I come into my room and if I'm, I'm in here with my hobbies and stuff, I get to spend time with my books or my cards or just, cleaning a book or something, or just looking through my comic books. Like, this is therapy. This helps me keep me from going insane. Like, I tell my wife that. I say, you go talk to a therapist. I deal with this. This is my therapy.
Let me ask you guys both this, since you guys both have a room, JP, Ryan, you've got a space. Do you guys have TVs in there?
Yeah.
JP, you have a TV in there down there?
I showed you that TV, that old tube TV I have
okay.
on my VCR.
So my question was, I've kind of thought about this. Like, let's just say we move to a new house sometime down the line, and I have a room that I can do this with. The living room will probably always have the biggest TV in the house, we'll just say. But I always thought, like, it'd be kind of cool to have a TV in this, quote unquote, hobby room, because I would think, like, it would be fun to watch, like, my Marvel movies in there amongst my stuff. Do you guys do that then in your rooms? Like, you may have a bigger TV out in the living room, but like, oh, I'm going to watch the Spider-Man movie. I'm going to watch it in here amongst Spider-Man.
I watch mine I watch it right on my computer right here. And then I have a TV. So yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I put them on. I watch it in here. I don't, it's more quiet in here and it's super comfortable. But if I want to watch the family, of course I go in the living room, but I watch stuff in here.
No, I have mine's all, I'm in my basement. So my other room, I have 2 more rooms in the basement. One of them's like a gym. It's not very big, but it's like a gym / little office in there. And then I have the larger room with the bar has Steeler stuff up.
Do you watch Steeler games in there then, for example?
I watch all my Steeler games down here, but if they continue to stink, I will slowly make that a Marvel room and take down all my Steeler stuff. And then I will
we're just been spoiled. We've just been spoiled. Just say that. We've been very spoiled. We've been very honored to have, Big Ben and everybody. Like, our teams have been stacked for a while.
I live near I live near Buffalo. And these are people who have been longing to have a good team again. And now that they're good and they have Josh Allen, who is like the other Ben, but nicer, let's just put it that way. He's a much better hearted person or kind hearted person. They're like living the life that we lived.
But they haven't won a title.
Not yet, but I mean, they got all the nuts and bolts to get there. They haven't yet. But it's like, I hear it all the time. Oh, man, we should at least have 3 titles by now with Josh Allen. And I'm like, listen, it doesn't.
It doesn't take a quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So
no, it takes the defense and a lot of different things.
Look at the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. They had Trent Dilfer.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, what? Like, their defense won them the championships. This is what happened. So
that's right. And that's the thing, though. We've been spoiled to have 20 plus years roughly of them being good. And so I think the tides have changed and the people locally have more enjoying what the Bills are doing. So we'll see. If my team continues to go down, I will be making that room a Marvel room. I have plenty more to put up on the wall to make that a Marvel room, and maybe there'll be one Steelers thing up here and there. I got a couple of Troy signatures that my son got from years ago that I'll keep up because he's a good dude. But I have beer cans. I have
I got
shirts.
I got Steeler cards for days. I got Pittsburgh Steelers cards, Big Ben's. I got jerseys. I got everything. I got game use stuff. Oh, I got a card that has Super Bowl. Sorry, Rohan, but this is Super Bowl 40 ticket that's on the card.
Oh, nice.
It's an actual ticket on the card, and it has Big Ben on it and Super Bowl 40 Steelers Seahawks.
I need to come and write robbed on that.
Rob, bullshit.
Hey, as I've said, the head referee says he has nightmares about how poorly they officiated.
It was 21-10. It wasn't even that. I mean, it wasn't close.
Yeah,
because of that. Anyways, we don't need to digress.
Hey, next time you get something from me, Rohan, I'm gonna send that as a free gift. It'll be a souvenir.
I'll make a video of me burning it. Is what I'll do.
We used to be like those our friends of ours that were Absolute Geek podcast, right?
Yeah.
The one guy was a big Cardinals fan, and he's telling me that the game there was something specific.
Oh yeah, I remember that. He was saying that Santonio Holmes wasn't in bounds. He definitely is in bounds.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, he wasn't. And I go back and forth that catch, and I look at it, and there was 3 dudes on Holmes in that corner of the end zone. Like, he shouldn't have caught that ball. The fact he did, I
And
mean,
he's definitely in bounds. Like I've seen
yeah.
it. I remember when they told you that. I was
But
like,
that
no,
was a
you're making
closer
that up.
game. It could have gone. It could have gone one way or the other in that game at the end. And same with Green Bay. We don't have that. Mendenhall doesn't fumble the ball. We probably win the game. Like there's all kind of stuff. The Seattle game, 21-10. Like there wasn't like one play, right, that could have gone either way. That's what would be harder to live with for me. Would be just that one play that turned the tide, right?
All right.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think it's hard because Seattle just never been to that game.
That was our first. Well, okay. Let's put a pin in it.
Matt Hasselback.
Otherwise, Rohan's gonna talk for like hours on and going through all the details. Like I don't need to open that door again.
There's a bottle of wine we have at my dad's bar that says Seattle wine. So Mike Holmgren was bitching. I know you guys. I agree. I get it. I'm still bitter about Green Bay. So I just like to rash you because I can.
I'd have to get a terrible towel with the 7-time Super Bowl champs, but I only got a terrible towel with
close.
6. Yeah,
this close.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I have a good point, a good subject change here to go back to comics. We don't need to talk about the
comics. We're here to talk about football. What are you talking about?
We're talking about football. I just don't want to talk about Super Bowl 40. Anyways, what I was going to ask you about, Ryan. So you were one of the few guys like myself that is into both comics and cards. Like I feel like people are either all comics or they're all cards. Why do you think? What are your thoughts on like why people aren't into both, like you and I per se? I'm always kind of curious. Like I personally think it's just, at least from the comic side, that the comic guys don't realize that they still make cards and they're still a thing. Like I didn't realize that until just a few months ago. Like I just thought like cards were in the 90s, they were really cool, but then that's done. And then I saw like, there's a 2016 Masterpiece. Like what? And then you learn it's still a whole thing. And I got back into it both. And I enjoy it as much as I do the comics. And I think they go great hand in hand together. So I'm kind of curious if you have any thoughts as to why that's not the case with more people.
Well, I mean, it could be like you said, is it's not some people who are collecting comics don't like realize that they are new sets, because I've been collecting cards for a long time now. I didn't even know until about 2021 that they were Upper Deck was still making new Marvel sets. I had no idea. And then I found Justin Spidey's channel, and then he started opening up new sets and stuff. And I'm like, what is this? Yeah, like, I didn't even realize it. But the thing is, I have a connection with the cards in the comics. The cards actually got me into the comics, and then the comics got me into the TV shows, and then the TV shows brought these characters even more to life and created even more connection.
No, that's perfectly true. Like almost everyone that we have brought onto this show in an interview just like this has said that same thing. It was those early 90s Marvel cards that got them into Marvel and then catapulted them into comics and whatnot. So I'm always just amazed at how it hasn't come back around and done both. And the other thing too, I kind of find frustrating is like JP and I don't know if you do, but we go to these Comic Cons and things like that. There is no cards whatsoever, but a lot of these Marvel card guys, they'll go to like a sports card show. And I get it, like card collectors, that's why they'll go there. But like, I personally think like their presence should be at like a Comic-Con, because there we're all Marvel fans. And like, for a lot of us that don't know about this stuff, if they were to see it, I think they'd do great at it. And so we were talking with like Michael, for instance, from Cool Card Life about like, you should start setting up at a Comic-Con show and see how that goes. And I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think they started doing that. I think it was like last year, Collecticon. No, not Collecticon, but there was a couple Comic-Con shows, I think, that the cards were starting to get into there. But I don't know what happened. I haven't heard about,
I've only been
going there.
I've only started collecting now for a little over a year. Same with JP. And I've gone to 4 or 5 shows, and I've not seen cards at a single one of them.
Yeah, I mean,
outside of like Dave, he had like a shoebox of like some old cards that he had.
Yeah, I mean, it's just if you go, they're like local comic shops. You go to there, you can't find cards. And if they do have cards, they're like beaten up old 90 cards, and you're just like, okay, I already have those, But yeah, it's just I think a lot of people are just not informed, because I was not, but I was already collecting cards, and then I'm like, oh wow, they make new ones, like and then they have some comic art on them. Like there's a new, like this one right here, Marvel Beginnings. I got this card. This is that
361.
yeah, the Mark Bagley auto. It's supposed to say 361, but it says 362 on it. They messed, Upper Deck just can't even get the right issue number for a book. But like I'm seeing like this, and I'm like, yeah, like I gotta have stuff like this. This is very cool. They make these type of things. So like I only collect stuff that have that connection. It has to have a comic connection, or it just has to be really cool art on it.
Yeah, and we had Josh Marvel Madison. He made a great. He's like, at the end of the day, we're all fans of this art form. It just depends on the medium that it's on. It's like that's totally right. Like, we shouldn't have too much difference between whether it's on a comic or on a card. The other thing too, like we were talking about with buying on eBay, like we don't like that experience. Like that's also why I want it more to meld together, because right now I don't have to buy comics on eBay if I buy comics, right? There are so many claim sales and dealers that you can get to know on Instagram, and like we said, have that warm connection to buy from that doesn't exist with car.
Peace of mind.
And I would love that, and that's why it's nice to see like Elite 11, for example. It started a page that's collectibles, and they have cards on there. So like, I'm hoping it grows to help facilitate this connection.
Yeah, even on cards, like when you buy them off eBay, some of them just have a scan, right? So they'll just have they'll scan it, and then they have no back picture. And when you get the card in the mail, it's scratched up.
Yeah.
It's all beat up because they don't show any surface. So how do you, like, I keep all the money. If you're buying a card off of me, I sleeve it up, and it's going to be, it's not going to be scratched. It's not going to be dinged or anything like that, because I store them carefully, but the people that are selling those consignment shops, they just throw them on there and just scan them. That's it. Yeah. Throw them on a scanner and scan them. And then by the time you get it, it's all scratched up, and they're like, well, you sold me a scratched up slab, card, and they don't even care.
Yeah.
I had, when I got back, I bought a couple cards because I got I go to auctions every Tuesday, and I got like some Barry Bonds rookie cards, and got some cards that I had as a kid or didn't have and wanted and whatnot. And one of those cards that I wanted was Bo Jackson, where he was holding the pads on and
he's just knee up on something. Yeah.
And I think I got for like $10, and the guy sent it to me in an envelope,
like unprotected.
It was in a protected case, but it was in an envelope, so it cost him 60 cents to send it. And I'm like, how did he even track this thing getting there? Now that I think about it, but like it came in an envelope, right?
eBay has a thing now that you if a card's $25 or less, they can ship it for like super cheap,
Oh,
but it's in an envelope that they don't track it though or something. I couldn't get tracking because I sold it. I think I sold a card, and I could have sent it through with an envelope, and I was like, I can't track it, so I'll send it media mail or whatever, just so I can track it to make sure it gets there. But they were going to do an envelope.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it's for cards. Maybe this might have been something that wasn't a card. That might have been why. I forget what it was.
Some people they can just ship it in an envelope, a regular envelope, and then just put a stamp on it. And as long as it's an ounce or less, they can get away with that.
Yeah. Right. But then for me, I was thinking, if I'm going to send it to this person, how do I know if they even got it?
Right.
And they're going to say I never got it. So that's why I wanted tracking on it. So I ended up paying more just to ship just for that reason. But I forget what I sold, what it was. But either way, like this guy sent it to me in an envelope, and I could have said I never got it, but
that's why I ship with the tracking stuff. I never used it. I don't do that.
I think like you're saying though, Ryan, like if it's however cheap it is, like eBay does, like you can see like when you get a tracking number for eBay, it'll be like ES something versus like we all know what like the USPS tracking number looks like. And so when I see
they do ESU, I think it is.
ESU. Yeah. Like
and you're like, where the heck's my card? And it's like it will randomly show up because there's no actual tracking of it.
Yeah.
It was a Pokemon card, a gold-plated Pikachu. 23 karat Pikachu.
I
couldn't give that thing away. I mean, my kids had them. I find them every once in a while. I found this one. It's been on eBay for months. No one wanted it. I had it on auction for like 5 weeks in a row, and it finally sold. I didn't get much for it. I think I made more in shipping than I did on the on the damn thing itself.
Hey, Pokemon cards move. They move. And
I found a Charizard in the floorboard. We must have, when we painted, we took the floorboard off, and I found this Charizard that fell down in there. It had a crease on it, but I ended up getting almost $100 for it.
Yeah, because it's a Charizard. Everyone wants that. Everyone wants it. Everyone collects Charizard.
But if I could have, if I'd have known you then, I would have sent it to you to fix it and get
Yeah.
that thing out of it.
Hey, I'm not trying to fix everyone's stuff. I have a couple people that friends that come to me and they're like, "Hey, can you fix this card for me? Can you do my submission?" Like I do pre-screening for cards.
Yeah, you've offered that to me, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I just did Dave sent me some cards and I pre-screened them for him. I packaged them all up. He didn't want to deal with the hassle of all that stuff. I packaged them and sent them to PSA. So hopefully, we'll have a successful grade reveal for those. But yeah, I've done it. It does take a lot of time and work because I put them under the magnifier. I look at them, take a look, to make sure that the surface is good. But
well, that's actually going back to what you talked about earlier. You said you've graded thousands of cards. How big are your submission sets? Like, are you submitting like 250 cards at a time?
Okay, so in 2020, I was submitting probably close to about 100 cards every submission, and every month a submission will go out. Every month I would be buying raw cards, doing everything I can to get at least about 100 cards out, and I would just every single month submit. That way, I was getting cards back, and I was getting cards back on time, so I can do auctions and I can resell them off. Because I started my eBay store and I was starting to, just move cards and make money through that so I can buy other stuff. So nowadays, I will only grade about 10 to 20 cards now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it. The grading costs back then were, I think the cheapest I paid was $8 a card. So that's why I was grading so many cards, because it was so cheap. The cost basis and stuff was definitely a lot more affordable. And then the market was crazy. As soon as I put a graded card out there, let's say I put an auction out, I'd make like $4,000, $5,000 on all these auctions. And I was doing that for a while. And then the market slowed down. And some of it's PC, and then some of it will be, cards.
Did I freeze? Did he freeze?
He's back.
Ryan, you there?
Can you pause it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So you were saying you were able to move it when they were selling quite a bit, and now it's slowed down some, I guess.
Yeah, and the cost of grade is just too high.
Yeah, that's what I think about, right? Like now at PSA, if there's not a special, it's 24. Like for example, I have like 8 cards I want to send to PSA. But at $24 a card, I'm like, my gosh. So I'm like hoping there'll be like a Marvel card special for like $15 and I'll take advantage of it.
Well, even that, you said if it's not a PSA 9 or 10, you're not even going to get,
Well,
right?
again, like it depends. I'm not.
That's if you want to sell it, though. If you want to sell them, then a 9 or better to grade, that's what you're looking at. But if it's a PC item, it's like,
Well, no, yeah. As we've talked about before, like when it's these 90s cards, I'm not going to grade a 90s card because it's way easier to just go buy the 10 than it is to like submit several cards. Like you're going to waste your money trying to get your 10 versus like there are plenty of 10s available. And in those 90 cards, when they're overprinted, like that's what you want. But like I have some like cards that are numbered of the more modern cards, numbered out of 50, numbered out, and they're at 8, no big deal. Like, but I want them graded because I like how it looks graded. I like the slab. I like the preservation of it better than just like a top loader. So that's why I want to do it.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Ryan, can you fix hologram cards? Can you get a crease out of a hologram card?
No. No, so with holograms, all you can try to do is flatten it, but you're more than likely going to scratch up the surface by trying to do something like that.
Yeah. This one has this. I don't know if you see the crease on it.
Is that Series 1, JP?
Yeah, that's the Venom hologram.
Oh, that's Series 2 then, or Series 3. I can't tell.
No, that's a 94, right? 94 Flair.
Oh yeah, that is 94. That is 94.
Yeah, I got that. I got that in a mid-9.
Yeah, all those.
I mean, like
all those holograms, JP. You got. It's like to get a 10 on those is like you got to just get lucky because not only oftentimes like the surface will be great, the corner will be great. So many of those are like so messed up in terms of centering when it comes to cutting those. Like
I bought like this. I got an auction with the binder full of Marvel cards, right?
Yeah, there you go. Their 30th anniversary.
Right. So
Spider-Man.
everything was in good shape except for this one. It's like they're all in the cover there, and this was the only one ripped. Or dented. I'm like, God damn it! Like that'd have been the best one out of the set, except for a couple of the McFarlane ones. I mean, they're all McFarlane ones, but I was like, why couldn't something else be messed up and not this card? Just the luck
Right,
of
the
the draw.
hologram. But those are so condition sensitive. So like, but you can buy those for cheap now. Even a mint version of that card. I think I picked up mine for like $35 in a 9.
Yeah, and I was hoping to sell parts out of that collection to get my money back because it came with some other stuff, and I wanted to sell the cards and keep with the comics I got, and I ended up selling something and got some of my money back, but I overpaid for it. But what I sold, I got I broke even, I guess we'll say. But this was the one I was hoping to I get $50 back.
You gave him a glimmer of hope, Ryan. You gave him a glimmer of hope.
Yeah. So, well, with that though, like when you buy stuff, like for me, it's not always about like it's cool to make some money, but as long as I break even, I think I'll feel okay. I'll feel fine, especially if it's just going to be an item I'm probably going to keep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know it's nice if you bought a collection and you can try to make some money off it. That's great. But
usually, what happens is if I buy a bunch of stuff from auction. Usually the shipping is what gets me on this particular one auction. It's online auction. The shipping is terrible. And one day, the one item I got, I came home and there was a box like 3 feet by 3 feet. I was like, what did I order? I forgot what I even ordered. Open up, there's like 200 comics in there, and I had Secret Wars #8 and Venom. Venom's Lethal Protector was in there, and like I definitely made my money back. So I spent $30 on that. But then I'll get stuff like this, which was the cards, and I got a couple comics with it. And the only way to make my money back is to sell what I wanted initially. The rest of the stuff in the box wasn't worth what I paid. What I got is worth what I paid, but in order to get my money back, I'm not going to get.
Well, normally if you see a binder that looks like from someone's childhood, the cards are usually not worth buying to make money off of, and that's 100%. Just like I don't know how many cards I pulled out of my childhood binder, but it wasn't many because they were.
I don't know if it was all. It might have been comics with it too. I got to go back and see what came with it, but it had a bunch of Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire. I sold that set. I don't know, $15, which paid for some of what I bought. But I think there was some comics that came with it, and the cards were just extra on top of it. Maybe I don't remember, but. You're right. I mean, I don't buy any more cards.
And I know this happens to you because I've seen people ask you on the Discord, Ryan, but like I've had people now on IG message because they know I do both cards and comics. And they'll message me like, oh, I found these cards from when I was a kid. I see they're worth money now. I'm like, no, they're not. It's like those ones from your childhood, they're not going to be in good enough condition to be like, don't waste your time. Like,
I mean, it's not like you might have something in there. Like I have my basketball cards. I took very good care of them. I had Kobe Bryant rookie cards that were in pristine condition, and I knew they were going to be worth money. But the Marvel cards, unless it's a hologram, we didn't care. Most of us collected that because we want the sets. We wanted all of them, right? And especially like let's say like 90, I think it's like 94 series 4 is they have 9 pages. They got 9-page panels and stuff. And you put the cards together to put a 9-page panel together. And it's like that's kind of what Marvel cards were. You didn't have like a rookie card of like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. Like you're not like holding on these things, and like those things. I think more sports cards were more of like you were more intentionally trying to take good care of it compared to like, the Marvel cards. Marvel cards is more trading along like your favorite characters, and then you were collected in sets. You just put them in the binders and stuff.
Yeah, and it was like I like had a lot of fun just. Obviously looking at it, then like looking at the power ratings on debating who would beat who and things like that.
Right. And like the 94 Flair, the Spider-Man, on the back of it had a Daily Bugle. It had like a story. It was telling stories and stuff on the back of those. So yeah, you were pulling them out and you were looking at them like that. So definitely there's differences. You can't. It's true. I took care of my sports cards better, and I took care of my Marvel cards, and they were top loaded too. I top loaded a lot of my sports cards that I had as a kid. And they end up being perfect condition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Same way. But I wish I'd have kept more of that stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think we all did. I had so many things that I was like, oh my gosh, why did I sell that? Should have kept that. you know, or you found it and you're like, why didn't I take good care of it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that. I have Sports Illustrated from Michael Jordan, Sports Illustrated magazine stuff that is, if I got it slabbed, it'd be worth tons of money back in like the early 90s and the late 90s. And I have a LeBron James, you know, magazine, like his first actual cover that he was on a magazine when he was in high school. Yeah, I used to go through it. So it's like
some of those Sports Illustrated, they're newsstand as well, correct? They have the barcode on them, so there's some more value because of them being newsstand.
Well, there's value. I mean, if they're high grade, like they're definitely got some value depending on.
Yeah, they probably.
I think even the newsstand ones.
I had a subscription though.
Yeah, if you have a subscription, it's not newsstand, right? But they still have a barcode on them, so there's a way to determine the difference. Because I have some of my Beckett's from back in the day, depending on who was on the cover: Barry Sanders, David Robinson, and then I have some Jordan Sports Illustrated. But I have yet to find like a really good way to figure out what the value is of that. Like I know what the value of my ASM 300 is roughly, but the magazines, they're hard to say. You look through eBay and you see, 15 different ones that sold at various prices. So it's just hard to gauge, is that really valuable or which one is the most valuable one, right? What should I have
normally for magazines and stuff like that, it's usually like those first edition type stuff. Like it's the first one, right? And like I have let me just pull this out real quick. So PSA has their own magazine, okay? And it came out, what is it? January 2022. This is the first edition PSA magazine. It's got Jordan on it. So it's the very first one. So like I'm not going to open this. Like this is like, to me, I know it's got Michael Jordan on it. It's got PSA. It says first edition. This maybe has a potential, like, in 20 years to be some type of collectible,
Right.
So like, I look at stuff like that now, I would say if it's a Beckett, maybe something that has like a first edition thing on it or something that has like just a first issue. I have a bunch of Beckett's too, but they're probably not worth anything. They're probably worth like, $20.
I read those things like you can't believe. So they really didn't stay in the best shape.
Yeah. Because you got a card. You're like, I open up a pack. I got a Jordan. I got a Kobe. I'm going to look it up and say, okay, this card's worth $25 or $50. I mean, I remember when it's worth like $20 to $50, I was like celebrating.
Oh yeah.
As a kid, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I opened up a pack of cards and got a Frank Thomas from that Top Stadium set, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, Ryan, we're at kind of like right at that almost 90-minute mark, which is kind of usually where I try to end these things. But it's been great having you on and chatting, and thanks for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the invite. You guys, like I said, you're the first first channel to be on, but it's been great, man.
So this will be worth money then? This is a first edition.
Yeah, first edition.
First edition.
Yeah. Big money.
Right on. JP, why don't you take us out?
No, I appreciate everyone being on. Remember, we like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, please. And we will see everyone on the next interview. Peace out.
Later.